All right, the first thing you want to do is go to the makecode.microbit.org website. And on the landing page, you want to create a new project. And let's just call this Bird. And then hit create. You don't need to take the tour because in this particular lesson, we're only going to use the servos, which is a controllable motor. So the first thing we want to do is close this tour offer, and then let's click on and hit backspace for the forever because we don't need that. The only thing we need is the on start C block. I call this a C block because it's shaped like a C. Now we need motors, and in this list we don't see any motors. So what we can do is click on extensions and then choose the servo extension. All the servo is a small motor that has two connections. One is for power and one is for control. Now that we have our extension servos loaded, let's click on servos. And let's choose the continuous because we're going to use this for the wheels of our motor. Let's drag that onto our surface and let's put it right inside the C block. And you'll notice that in just a few seconds, servo motor will be on screen. And you can see it is connected to port 0. And this is also port 0. We have 3 ports that are available for servos: port 0, port 1, and port 2. So let's leave this at port 0, and let's change this number to 100%. You can either use the slider or you can type that number in 100. All right, so let's press reset, and you can see our servo is running at 100%. Let's change that to 10% so we know that our servo is working. So hit reset. Now you can see our servo is running at 10% of its maximum speed. Now we need to be able to control the speed and the direction of our motors. We can do that by adding additional servo instructions. So let's drag another one on screen and let's click here. Now these are confusing instructions because we're telling the servo to run at 10% and then 90%. It really doesn't understand that because we're giving it 2 sets of instructions that don't really make sense. So in order to differentiate the instructions that we give it, let's use one of the basic code blocks. And the block we're going to use is a pause. Let's click and drag that right in the middle. And let's click on this drop down and let's add 5 seconds. Now notice that when I click on 5 seconds, the number 5,000 is going to populate that area. 5,000 means 5,000 milliseconds, which is the same as 5 seconds. Okay, so let's press reset. And it's running at 10% for 5 seconds. And then it's going to speed up to 90%. Now let's copy. Let's do a Control C or a Command C if you're on a Mac, and then a Control V or a Command V if you're on a Mac. On a PC, it's going to be Control. Now, what we're telling this to do is to run at 10% for 5 seconds, run at 90% for 5 seconds, and let's add one more servo instruction. We can either add that instruction to slow it down to 0%. Let's reset. So it's running at 10% of full speed. Now it's running at 90% of full speed. And then after 5 seconds, it stops. Let's add one more set of instructions. Here, instead of stopping, I am going to run it at a negative. Let's take a guess at what's going to happen when I run it at negative. And I'm going to copy and paste this so it will run for 5 seconds at -90. I'm going to copy and paste that and run it at 0% now. Let's reset and see what we get. So 5 seconds, it's going to run at 10%. Now it's running at 90% of maximum speed for 5 seconds. Now you see it reversed and is running at 90% full of maximum speed in reverse, and then it stops after 5 seconds. You've completed your first lesson in learning how to use the servo motors and the Hummingbird kit. Thank you for watching.